Hello and welcome to the After Action Review video podcast. I'm Coach Latham. I'm the founder of Empowering Life Changes, my life coaching company. You can find more resources and booking information at www.empoweringlifechanges.net. For daily affirmations, follow me on all social media platforms at Coach Latham_PhD. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. All right, hello. So it's Coach Latham_PhD, and we're back for another episode. Today, we're going to be talking about content creator block, energy leaking, and how we can refocus or redirect our energy to stay on goal. This is the third time that I'm recording this episode because I keep going off on a tangent for some reason. I'm not sure what is happening today. But on this take, we're going to try to stay on topic and stay where we need to be. So even myself, during this period, right, I had really, like January was really good for me. I had super high energy all through January, and I've been crushing my goals and just really having my small victories, right? And I've been celebrating those small victories. That's an important thing that we talked about in a prior episode. But then, in like a matter of a week, my mom called me to let me know that her good friend of like 30 years suddenly, very, very suddenly, took ill and has since passed away. And I have some other friends who are sick with COVID. I have other friends that their parents have become terminally ill. I have another person I know, his mom died. She had been ill for a little bit and, she's passed away. I have some friends that are having some relationship problems. And I've been meeting some people that are having relationship problems with themselves, right? And it's been a lot to take on. And it's so interesting because in this episode, I want to talk about, how and what to do when life happens. And, as fate would have it, life has just really been occurring all around me and sometimes happening to me, right? Even in my own world. So I have been trying to get this episode together for a while, but even when I, was just laying in bed and was trying to think about how to lay out the content for this episode, I kept coming up blank because I just kept wondering to myself, like, how do you tell a 9-year-old that, your mom is not coming out of the hospital, or you won't be able to have another meal prepared by your mom again. Your mom is not going to be there to see you graduate from high school. You're not going to be able to talk to her again. And so I started thinking about what it might be like to lose my own mom. And this is the human condition at play. And what happens to us is when we see or hear about someone experiencing something traumatic, if we're far enough away from it, then we get to run scenarios basically and think about the what if. Now, because I'm living in Florida and I'm not at home in Kentucky, right? I haven't been able to physically go and see my mom since all this has happened because it was just like so fast. But I've had time to run my own scenarios, right? And to put myself somewhat into this young man's shoes, like this child's shoes, right? And that's a tough thing to do, right? And then also being in that space, but then talking my mom, who's already lost her mom and her grandmother. talking her through that and being present for her. But the most important thing that I want to say in all of that is to love on people while you have a chance, to give them their flowers while they're here. What I love about the relationship that my mom had with her friend is that they continuously loved on one another, right? And they grew together. And that is one of the most beautiful things about meeting people and choosing who we bring into our own villages, that I think sets us apart, scientific here, but as a species, right? Because we get to choose our friends. We get to, for the most part, choose what coworkers we choose to align ourselves with. And that's a huge thing, right? So I say all that to say, don't take your relationships with people for granted, because you never know when their time may be up. So in that, going into understanding that life happens, and all those situations is a real world, authentic situations I just explained, that is life happening, right? Life does not care that you have children. It does not care that you are young. It does not care that you have tons of money. It doesn't care that you have tons of property. It doesn't care that you had a huge trip planned. It doesn't care that you're working your way through the bucket list. Life will happen. And when life happens to you, you have to be ready to respond, right? In karate, we do this thing when we're fighting where we bounce up and down, right? And you're bouncing up and down because they call it staying on your toes. When you stay on your toes, you're able to dodge quickly, right? Because for the most part, martial arts is a straight line contact sport. Karate is a straight line contact sport. And you got to be able to get off what we call the X, which is the area that you're standing at when the threat is progressing towards you. And if you get caught in what we say is being flat-footed, that's standing with both feet on the ground, right, and not bouncing, that slows down your reactionary time, and it can put you in a position where the opponent will have the advantage over you. And so in life, you have to stay on your toes, right? You can't always be in a position of high alert, but you have to be ready to stay on your toes, because if you get caught flat-footed, it could be devastating, right? Being flat-footed is being in a state where you're living paycheck to paycheck. It's being flat-footed, because it only takes one financial emergency to bankrupt you, to cripple you, to put you in a mental, emotional, spiritual state of loss, right? And you don't want that. The other thing that can happen to you, being caught flat-footed, right, in your relationships, complacency, okay? Complacency with self, right? You're no longer doing your positive self-talk. You're no longer working to maintain your interview self. The interview self is the highest version of yourself, right? Think of it like this. The first time you go and you interview for a job, right? It's your dream job. You get your clothes ready in advance. You got all your facts down about the place that you're trying to go work at, right? You're probably going to get there a little early because, God forbid, you're late. And you present the best version of you to the interviewer, right? Because you really want this job. Being on your toes requires you to be that interview version of yourself all the time. And it's hard. Yes, it's hard. Oh my God, it's hard. It's so hard. Even in being a content creator and trying to create videos, right? And find different ways to maintain the engagement of the audience. It's so hard to stay in that space. But it's critical. It's important. And you have to rely on the discipline, not the motivation, but the discipline. You talk to anybody that has ever went out there and did something, anybody that has ever went out there and tried to do something. I mean, you got to talk to somebody who decided that they wanted better for themselves, right? Because, listen, the bottom is very crowded. What does that mean? It means that there are an almost limitless amount of people that like to stay at the bottom because it's stress-free, it's worry-free for the most part. I'm not fighting with anybody, I'm not in competition with anybody, I'm not in contention with anybody. I'm just meandering through life and I'm riding the wave. But when you want to get to the top, even if you want to get to the middle, right? It doesn't matter. You want to start climbing, you want to start doing more, you want to start doing better, you want to become better, then that's going to require you to fight. It's going to require you to be prepared to fail. It's going to require you to be prepared to try some new things. It's going to require you to dig. And when I say dig, that means that even when you don't feel like it, even when you don't feel good, right? And when I say feel good, I'm not telling you that if you are sick and you need to rest, that you can't rest. That's crazy. No, what I'm telling you is that when you wake up in your right mind and your body is calibrated, but you just for some reason feel like, not today. No, you still got to get up. You got to get up. You got to hustle. You got to fight. You got to dig. You got to work. You got to do the work. You have to do the work. Why? Because nobody's going to do the work for you. This is one of the reasons why I love working out. It's one of the reasons why I love running and swimming and biking. One of the reasons why I love doing police work, right? Because I'm going out to, somebody's called me to their home because they have a problem. I'm coming in, I'm learning about the problem, I'm coming up with a solution, I'm offering you that solution, and then, I'm putting it back on you to see you put that to work. It's one of the reasons why I enjoy being a life coach, because I'm talking to somebody, I'm looking at them not just as they are, but for what they could be. And I'm going to help them see that for themselves. I'm going to help them experience that. I'm going to help them reach out to that, right? Because I know how hard it is. I know what it takes to be a champion. I do. I know the sacrifice. I know the resolve. Listen, it's not sugar and spice and everything nice. It's rough. It's real rough. And there are some days, I have a friend, she's a writer. I'm gonna bring her onto the show. It's rough. I talk to her and it's rough. She's juggling a lot. It's crazy times out here, right? I got friends who are detectives. They work for the Louisville Metro. It's crazy times out here. People killing a lot of people. They busy. I have friends that work in the service industry. There's not a lot of people showing up for work. And listen, I don't have any problem with that. You need to work where you are respected, and you need to work where you are valued and where you are found worthy and where you feel like the work that you're doing is speaking to you. You got to do that. And if where you're working at right now is not doing that, find your way out. Don't spend another day that you don't have to spend being somewhere where you're not respected, where you're not valued, where you're not found worthy. I'd never tell you to do that. I would never tell you to sell yourself short. So let me wrap this point up. When life happens, don't get caught flat-footed. How, coach? How do I not get caught flat-footed? The first thing is that you have a defined plan. It's so important. You got to have the plan, right? I'm not saying you got to stick to everything that's on the plan. No, but you have to have a plan. My little brother was talking to me about moving from Kentucky to another state. First thing I said, you got to have a defined plan. You got to know, or at least have something set up to guide you when you get there. You don't go somewhere and then try to figure it out, right? It's just too much stress, because you're already going to have stress during the move. You're already going to have stress from the moment you decide to take on whatever it is you want to take on. So you got to have a plan in place, something like a roadmap to kind of help you get from A to B, B to C, C to D, right? So on and so forth. Have the plan. Number two, you got to be okay not being successful. That's a real hard one there. You got to be okay with not being successful. Now, let's pause here, because what is success? Success is not everybody's definition. You could start a business, you may go work for a company, whatever it is you choose to do. You may never make $1 million. You may not make, $500,000. Who knows? But that does not mean that you are not successful, right? Of course, if you try to start something and then you fail, you were not successful in that attempt, but you did not fail overall. And that's such an important concept to hold on to. Today, during one of my coaching sessions, I was telling my client about tunnel vision and how a lot of people, when they get caught in a situation, they get stuck in the tunnel. And I just got this Oculus for Christmas. And when you put the Oculus on, unless you come outside of what they call the Guardian, which is the boundary area, you can't see anything else. All you can see is everything is a 3D screen, 360 degrees. It's all like a 3D thing. When you step outside of the boundary, the game changes for you, changes your perspective. And even though you have on the Oculus headset, now you can see. You can see the whole room now. When you step back into the boundary, back into the VR set. Tunnel vision is the same way. Some people can't save themselves because they can't separate the situation from the destination. And I've talked about this several times before. Just because you have entered into a season of resistance, it does not mean that you have to stay there. I used to do a lot of resistance training back when I was fighting on a competitive level, right? We used to put a big weight on the ground, and then we would tie resistance bands to our legs, and we kick. We tie resistance bands to our stomachs, and we run. We tie them to our hands, and we punch. We did a lot of resistance work. Why? Because you are building yourself up to overcome the resistance. You're building yourself up. So when you first put this band on, you're shooting your kicks and you're trying to slide, or you're trying to take off running, or you're trying to throw your punches, and it's yanking your body back. It's so similar to when you're trying to get ahead in life, right? You're pushing, and life is pulling you back, and you're pushing, and it's pulling you back. And then one day, you just start to see that as everything is beginning to click, and you're just pushing, and then you're recognizing that, oh, wow, okay, dang, the band is not pulling me back the way that it used to. Like, the band is not, it's not slowing me down like it used to, right? Okay, and then you upgrade. And then when you upgrade, you go back, right? You pushing, and you're going back. And it keeps repeating itself, right? It keeps repeating. And such is life, right? So as you start to progress, as you start to earn more, to do more, right? To give more, to learn more, life is going to start giving you resistance. Now, if you're the type of person and you want to try to play it safe, you can do that. But I promise you that it is unavoidable grief. It will still come for you. You could hide up under a rock and the grief will still come for you. You cannot get away from it. Unavoidable suffering is what Les Brown calls it. You cannot get away from it. So, what better thing to do than to start learning how to handle and maneuver through what life is going to throw at you? Perfect. Now, let's get into the meat of today's episode. So I want to talk to you about content creator block and how that is applicable to everybody's life, right? So, content creator block, what is it? If you're a writer, you experience writer's block. If you're a teacher, you experience teacher's block. If you are a police officer, a nurse, if you are a server, if you are a cashier, if you are an entrepreneur, we all experience some type of blockage or burnout. And when you start to experience this, what tends to happen is you start to become apathetic, less enthused, right? Less caring about those around you. I saw this happen a lot in police work. After you get exposed to so many traumatic events, right, and you're trying to be a good steward to the city, and you have so many different things happening, right? And then you have your own personal life happening too. And then you have the lives of the people you care about happening as well. You start to care less about the people you're coming in contact with, and you're trying to focus on self-preservation, burnout. This is what this is. We see it all the time. If you know someone who is a nurse and they've had to work a COVID unit, especially at some of the major hospitals and then some of the more rural hospitals, then they've seen people die because they had to start triaging how they give respirators, how they give oxygen, right? Who gets the best treatment first? Who gets this medication first? And so they start to experience burnout. A lot of times in our relationships, when our bids for connection, right? What is it? So what is a bid for connection? Let me define that before I move on. A bid for connection can be as simple as, hey, do you want to go to the gym together? Would you like to take a walk? Come here real quick. You want to lay on the couch with me? How was your day? What would you like to eat today? These are all small bids for connections. But when these bids go unreturned, right, or unfulfilled, that leads to burnout in the relationship, right? Why keep trying to go after something if you're not getting a return on your investment? Especially when, as everybody says, what one won't do, another will. So you start to experience the burnout. And then you start to experience the loss of connection. So all these things, when we talk about like content creator block, burnout, and how that pops up, generally occurs when we are overworking ourselves or when we feel undervalued, right? And so as that begins to happen, we start to withdraw, we start to pull back. But remember what we talked about in the beginning here about the resistance bands and how we use those to mimic, right? To mimic working out. We use those to mirror being heavier than we actually are, fighting through the resistance to get to that intended target. Life, again, is the same way, right? As you start to try to do something different, as you start to try to do something better, as you start to try to learn more, that resistance is going to start to pull you back. And then you've got to keep pressing forward. Another thing, it's like swimming. When you start swimming, you're literally, trying to swim against the water, and you got to angle your body a certain way to be able to essentially cut through the water. Running. Sometimes you can run into what they call a strong headwind. And a headwind is blowing directly at you. Of course, this is where most of our mass is. And so as we're running and the wind is coming, it's slowing you down, right? And so it takes a lot longer to run that mile than it normally does because the wind is so strong. So resistance occurs for us in many different ways. I have a friend, he works in human resources, and he's been fighting to get people higher pay all before the pandemic, through the pandemic, and then hopefully, as we might be rounding out the pandemic, he's still fighting to get people more money. Sometimes it's just $1 or $2 more. But the company that he's worked for has refused to do that, right? They refuse to do that. Think about this. $1 more per hour, because if you work full time, no overtime, you work 2,080 hours a year for the most part, right? They don't even want to give people an extra $2,000, which I don't know if you've seen the price of peanut butter and eggs, but folks need money out here, right? And that caused him to become burnt out because I don't want to work here anymore. You people don't even want to take care of the people who work here. You don't want to give them a living wage. Burnout. I don't want to work here anymore. I'm going to go somewhere where people are respected and valued and treated equitably. I'm not working here. I talk about the content creator block because, I experienced it on and off. I spoke with my friend Keith. He experiences on and off. I have friends who have been working their way through their PhD programs. They have experienced it significantly on and off. I remember when I was going through my PhD program, the fire went out. It went out. Listen, it went out. I was done. I think for maybe 2 full terms, I produced nothing. When it was time to send in my eval, my self-eval about what I accomplished, I literally wrote, I produced nothing, I was burned out, this was a bad term. And then my chair, who's the person that reviews my work, sent me an email, hey, I understand. You take the time that you need and get back to it when you're ready. And that's some really good advice, right? That advice was needed for me at that point. Because when you go through a period of blockage, sometimes you really do have to set everything down, step away from it, and then do something else. Literally, set it down, close it up, do something else. Something that makes you happy, something that gives you some fulfillment. This is why I say this. And this goes into the next topic of energy leaking. Sometimes we encounter so much resistance that if you've ever seen it, our country has a bunch of flags flying everywhere. Everybody has a flag. You'll see these flags that fly in all types of weather, right? It's raining, it's windy, there's hailstorms, there's extreme heat, it's freezing, whatever. And the ends of the flag will be all torn and tattered, and then eventually the flag starts to just tear in different places. Well, when you encounter a lot of resistance and you're not taking care of yourself, you're not slowing yourself down, you're not trying to get yourself back to where you need to be, right? You're not practicing your self-care. That's when you start doing this thing called leaking your energy. And when you leak your energy, you're just dropping it all over the place, right? You start pollinating your work. I've talked about this before. When you pollinate your work, you pick this up, you pick this up, you pick this up, you pick this up, but you're never completing anything. You start pollinating your friendships, right? You can't really focus long enough to finish a conversation. You're not even focusing enough to pick up the main parts of a conversation. It's just not happening for you. You're leaking your energy across all these friendships. In your home life, right? You're so burned out. You have this blockage. You're not even aware of what's taking place around you, right? If you've got kids, you can't socialize with them. You're not connecting. Your spouse, your partner, wife, boyfriend, husband, whatever, you're not connecting. You're not. The energy is not even reaching them. You're trying to broadcast whatever it is you're trying to broadcast, and literally the energy is just dissipating. When you lay down, you feel so depleted. And then when you get up, it's like you're trying to wind yourself up, right? Or I want you to think about like when you connect your beat up phone charger cord, right? The one, you know the one that you got to bend this way and then back this way, and sometimes you got to wrap it around the phone first because the wires are all messed up. That is what happens when you are leaking energy. Listen, you got to take care of yourself. That's really the whole purpose of this conversation today, is that you have to take care of yourself. What does that look like? Sometimes it can look like going to get a nice haircut, going to get your hair done, going to get your nails done, going to get a pedicure, going to get a massage. Sometimes it's taking yourself out to eat. If you like going to Target and you like just walking around Target, if you can just walk around Target, because listen, I have not been to a Target yet where I haven't walked out with something, but it's a very peaceful place. Go to Target and walk around. Sometimes self-care is going outside and taking a 15-minute walk with no music, no talking. You're just walking and you're just enjoying the sounds, right? I hope you live by birds and nature. I hope that there's something out there that as you're walking, you can listen to it. Even if you're just listening to the wind, you can listen, right? And if you live somewhere warm, you can feel the heat from the sun, right? At least you know you're alive. Even when I used to live in Kentucky, and like here recently it's been down in the teens and sometimes in the negatives, I used to take Prince out and I would get excitement by seeing him run around in the snow, seeing him run out, chase his ball and have a good time. We would walk and I could hear our feet and my feet, his paws like crunching in the snow and stuff, those things are relaxing. And that's what you have to do when you're burnt out. When you're overwhelmed, you have to relax. I'm telling you have to relax. You have to do absolutely nothing. It is in the doing of nothing that you actually find something when you're experiencing burnout. Yeah, right? So the last thing that we talk about today is refocusing and redirecting. And so what happens when we start to experience burnout and this issue of content creator block, right? Is we start to become even more focused on trying to produce. Oh my God, I have to produce. If I'm not working, I'm not being productive, right? So I have to produce. Well, that's not right. No. When this happens, it means that you've oversaturated yourself with this one focus. It's time to redirect. How do you do that? When I experience creator block, and usually for me, as I'm creating the affirmations for the week, I'll be like, dang, man, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say today. And then I sit and I think to myself, what is it that I'm working on? What is it that I want to say? Right? So January was about getting the mind together. I know February is about the spirit. March is about the body. Okay. All right. Getting back into it. This month is about alignment of the mind. Let's stay on topic. Or sometimes I will have to stop. I stop right where I'm at. I save my work, I shut it down, and I go do something else. Whether it's reading, taking a nap, doing something with Prince, doing something with Jay, making a phone call, sending some text messages, something. I do something else, right? Because it means that I'm hyper-focused on one thing. And I'm so focused on it that I can't see my way through it. I'm in the tunnel. I'm in the tunnel because if I don't get this figured out, then I'm not being productive. Not true. It's not true. Sometimes you have to be able to step back, to walk away, and take a breath. And then, maybe it takes a few days. Sometimes it can just take 15 minutes. But once you feel better and you refocus, right, now you can redirect that energy back into your project and watch yourself excel instead of struggling to come up with some core concepts that seem to be escaping you because you can't shut it down and go out and breathe. The last thing to tell you is to take every situation for what it is. Every situation. Take it for what it is and find the lesson along the way. Why do I say find the lesson along the way? Well, because life never really stops. We can stop. Well, figuratively, we can stop. We can sit down. We can stand still. We can lay down. But the world around us always continues on. In the beginning of this episode, I told you all these things that have been happening, right, to multiple people that I know. But the world has still continued, and it will keep going. I was listening to a very powerful motivational video that I shared on Twitter, and in it, the speaker talks about what happens when we encounter, problems, and we respond to those from a place of emotion, and how we express all this energy, right? But then he talks about our wisdom and how wisdom is revisiting the same experience without the emotion. And I was like, wow. Literally, I was like, wow. Okay. I like that. Wisdom is when you revisit, right, a same or similar experience without the old emotion. Powerful, right? Powerful. You've overcome it. You've learned how to change your perspective and how to see this thing differently. And so as life is happening to you, around you, through you, you're constantly being re-challenged with the same or similar issues, but you're making your decisions without the emotion attached to it. And because of that, you find yourself excelling. That's amazing. That's powerful. So I talked to you about a lot of different things today. And the main thing that I really, really wanted to stress is that in 2022, we're breaking away from being booked and busy to being well rested, moderately booked, and well traveled. The last thing is whatever you like to do. If traveling is not your thing, you fill in whatever it is that you like to do. But we want you to do that well all of 2022. And then continue that on for the rest of all of your days. Because listen, being booked and busy is going to lead you to a significant series of burnout episodes. Because you're not taking time to be present. You're not taking time to enjoy the world around you, right? As it's occurring, you're missing out because you're booked and busy. But when you're well rested and you're moderately booked, and then again, whatever that last thing is that you like, for me, I like travel, I'm well traveled. Oh my God. I mean, I'm in such a better place. I mean, there's a huge smile on my face right now just thinking about this, right? I remember when I was starting my practice, one of my early clients, first told me, he was like, I know you want to have a lot of clients and you want to make a lot of money doing this. And I was like, well, listen, I want to have like 10 revolving clients because I don't want to be overbooked. I don't want to be crazy busy. Like, I want to have a lot of good knowledge and information to pass. I want to have free time to be able to go out and do the things I enjoy doing and be around my family and friends. And then I want to be able to travel, right? Because those are the things that I love to do. So make sure you take time to do nothing sometimes. You know, if you're a person and you're going for something. Like when I was going for the Ironman, I was working out 7 days a week for like 6 months, but it was what I needed to do for that point in time, right? I knew that at some point I was going to get a break. I knew at some point I was going to have a change in my lifestyle, right? But you can't perpetually be in that state because it's not healthy, right? Like nobody is designed to go all the time because we're just not machines, we're people. We need to rest, we need to recover, we need to reevaluate and then reapproach. All right, that's the end of the episode today. I have some collaborative episodes coming up. I actually have 3 of those planned, so I'm very excited about that. I can't wait to record those and share those with you. As always, the affirmations are posted on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can see those by following me at Coach Latham _PhD. And then if you need to book any of your life coaching needs, you can do those on those websites as well by following the link that is within the bio. Or you can go to www.empoweringLifeChanges.net. So make sure you subscribe and share the content so that everybody has the opportunity to see and to grow and to benefit from this. And if you're in the South Florida area, please make sure that you go and visit Jay's website or his page on Instagram and Twitter, and that's going to be at Mr. J Skin, at Mr. J Skin, where you can book your introductory facials. And I got to visit his suite over this past weekend. The setup is beautiful, the ambiance, the space, the music, everything. I think he has the smoothest hands in all of Broward, Dade, and Palm Beach County. So, as always, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And as always, I'm so excited to have you here and to be engaging with you. And I really look forward to the collaborative episodes that I have coming up. You can always find me on Instagram and Twitter at Coach Latham _PhD. And we will talk again. Thank you.